Hi, I'm Anthony Originello, CEO of the Chartered Professionals in Human Resources for BC and Yukon. We represent more than 8,000 members, and as the organization dedicated to advancing the HR profession through education, advocacy, awareness, professional development, as well as our recognized and impactful CPHR designation, we are proud to be a sponsor of this show. We have been the voice of the HR profession since 1942. Learn more about us at cphrbc.ca.
In this edition of Careers That Matter, I'm joined by Beau Jarvis, the President and CEO of Wesgroup. Beau, welcome.
Thank you.
What is Wesgroup?
Wesgroup is a diversified real estate development and asset management company, privately owned, based out of Vancouver, BC.
So what does it mean to be CEO and President? What do you do? Do we have enough time?
Well, sometimes I joke that I just kind of run around the office and drive everybody crazy. I have built a really, really great team. We call it the executive leadership team. So there are 8 people, and they really help me run what is becoming a really amazing business. We've built our culture. We really focus on culture. We focus on values, really value-driven. And we've been able to sort of really execute in the last decade or so while I've been here in a meaningful way in Metro Vancouver. So what I do daily, I guess I really work on my team as a coach, as a sometimes player, and as a leader, and just that's what I do every day is help my team.
You work with people.
Yes, I work with people, yeah.
But you work with people in a specific sector. Mm-hmm. How important is it that you understand in great detail the nuances of that sector so that you can be working with your team towards the right potential outcomes?
It's pretty important. And so, every single person on my team came up through real estate for the most part, and have some level of background in real estate development, construction, property management, asset management. And so I did as well from a very, very young age, and came up kind of through that way. And so I have a lot of experience in construction, real estate development, government negotiations and relations, community relations. And so it is important that you have experience in the aforementioned things if you're going to help to run a real estate development company.
Yeah, you got to know your stuff, because how else can you ensure that your team is moving in the right direction?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Overall, how many people are a part of your organization?
We have about 340 people in our business. That's scheduled to increase by probably about another 50 in 2025, given the projects that we're going to execute on. And almost half are in the field. So on construction sites, on their property management, they're in sales centers, customer care.
So for a young person who's watching this and they go, okay, so you're the president and CEO, but you're not running around to all those buildings, you're not on all those construction sites. Now I start to understand, like, your job is actually working with the team that then manages each one of those different divisions.
Mm-hmm. That's accurate, yeah. And we really try to provide a high level of autonomy in our business. It's really the only way that you can naturally scale. And so we really, again, we have our values, and we create a high level of alignment, build a really great culture, and then provide a high level of autonomy. And so it doesn't necessitate me sort of jumping into the fray and micromanaging and things like that, because there's a ton of mutual trust and alignment in our organization, and we just have built these incredible teams that execute. So I'd love to go to the buildings and construction sites more, and I should, but it doesn't necessitate me to, and I don't have as much time to be able to do that as I used to.
So that's the internal facing side of your job. What's the external facing side?
The external facing side, so I find myself in the media a lot lately. Probably over 50% of my job currently is government advocacy. Because we are in the housing, we're in many parts of real estate development. We build industrial, retail, office, but we build a lot of housing. We're one of the largest housing providers in Western Canada. the housing side of our business has the highest level of government intervention by all levels of government that I've certainly seen in my career, and I suspect it's the highest in history. Because of a housing crisis. And so a lot of my time is also spent outward facing, engaging with government, trying to help government and the general sort of call it the constituency better understand the ecosystem in which we deliver housing in our country. And hopefully that leads to more sustainable policy outcomes. Because, you know, we were talking earlier and Canada is I think it's 37 out of 37 in terms of ranking of OECD nations in terms of regulatory framework.
Yeah,
and that's
at the
really
bottom, not at the top.
At the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's really issuing a permit for anything, whether it's a building, a mine, a renovation, you know, whatever it is. And so I really work on that and try and unlock that.
So your career, how did it start? You know, you leave high school.
Yeah.
And it's not something that I there was only one guy I ever knew who in high school said, I'm getting into real estate at that stage. Were you that guy as well?
No, absolutely not. You got to go back a little bit before high school. My family moved to Whistler, actually, in the early 70s. Oddly, at that time, not many people were sort of moving to Whistler.
No, Whistler was not flourishing the way that it does today.
No, and so my mother helped to open one of the first real estate offices there. And so she was one of the original real estate agents in Whistler. And my father built built spec homes. And so I grew up in the backseat of the Volvo while my mom was showing real estate as Whistler grew and became a tourist destination, or on one of my dad's construction sites. And so after high school, I went to university and took business, and there's a whole story there, but we'll just skip it and say I took business. And then didn't want to go into real estate. So I tried to go into tech. Tech was on vogue at the time. This was sort of, dot bomb era in the late 90s, 2000. And that failed miserably. And so I kind of went with my tail between my legs back to Whistler, to home, and worked with my mother as a real estate agent and was a broker. And so in Whistler, they didn't have a lot of commercial representation. So you're sort of this jack of all trades as a real estate broker. And you sold a single family ski cabin. You did a retail lease in the village. You sold an industrial property in Function Junction, and you sold development land. And I had a listing for a development site, which I sold ultimately to a large real estate development company here in Vancouver, and they offered me a job. I also put myself through university working in civil contracting for a company called Whistler Excavations. So I had a lot of construction background. And then, of course, got a business degree, and I don't know, here I am.
But how did you go from that, humble beginning to now you're running an organization? And are you one of the principals of the company?
No, the company is owned by a local family.
Okay.
Yeah.
But and they trust you.
Yes.
Entrust you with this incredible endowment. What happened? It obviously took off.
Yeah. I joke sometimes. I suffer from imposter syndrome because I identify with that. That sort of ratty kid who you see climbing out of the bushes with a skateboard in Whistler. And here I come out the elevators of the 29th floor of a Bentall building and to this beautiful office, and I am helping to run this large organization with this incredible team. I think the word that I use a lot, one of my favorite words, is tenacity. I competed at a decently high level in ski racing. It didn't come naturally to me. I would watch video of all the people it did come naturally to and set my mind to beating them. And that's kind of the story of my life, whether it was in sports, academics, or business. And I just kind of, I will outwork the next person. I will, and I think I try to be as really, I've learned, this was a learned thing. It didn't come naturally as well, but being humble. And we call it sort of in our office, we talk about being a humble savage. And you really, in order to achieve results and have outcomes, and we call it pushing the go button, which is hard these days. We engage in a lot of risk. You got to be a humble savage. You have to be savage. You have to be a go-getter. Have a lot of tenacity, but you got to really do that in a way that is humble and sort of with proper tone and decorum, and so that takes a lot of practice. And I think that I've been practicing that for a long time, and I've had some pretty big ups and downs along the way where you kind of got to pick yourself back up. You can call it a failure for sure. And then you learn from it and you kind of climb back up. And so I don't know, here I am after doing that a bunch of times.
I always ask somebody, well, what's characteristic about you? And I get the sense that your work ethic is a very important part of your career. It is a huge part of, at least that's what I attribute it to for sure. One of the things I have to do often now is, realize that people, there's a thing called life balance, and so I really try, I think there is, and so I really try and work, acknowledge that within the organization as well as we focus on culture and things like that. But yeah, I just kind of always work, and I have a lot of kids and a big family, and so there's a lot going on there as well, and yeah. And it's a good life. Good job.
I love my job. My job's incredible. Like the best job in the world as far as I'm concerned.
Well, thank you for giving us a little glimpse into your world.
Sure, thank you.